And we are recording with Mr. James Koutoulas on Thursday, July 13th, 2023 at 2:06 p.m. Eastern time. Yes, I caught myself in the shower. I got my shirt caught on the doorknob when I was walking in here and it stretched it out. So I went to the sauna right before I took a shower. So I'm all red and Irish and blotchy. So, I mean, I don't know. That's how my day started. But other than that, I'm doing good. Mr. Koutoulas, could you please introduce yourself? Guys, if you go to the description, you can find his Twitter, you can find his Instagram, you can find the article about him that I think originally I got put in touch with you for, and then maybe kind of tell everyone what we're talking about today as I rudely post the live link on my phone.
It's not rude at all, but good to see you. Yeah, my name is James Koutoulas. I am a multi-strat hedge fund manager, including a pretty successful crypto fund. Probably best known for my work as an attorney. Was the lead counsel in the MF Global bankruptcy pro bono, helped lead the recovery of all 6.7 billion in customer assets against Gensler buddy John Corzine, who they worked together at Goldman Sachs. And then also my Halloween costume was the inspiration for the Let's Go Brandon.com coin. And that has been, quite a roller coaster. But we recently just sued the SEC, who are trying to unconstitutionally subpoena me over Let's Go, which is clearly not a security and they have no jurisdiction.
And so how is this turning into you versus Gessling part two? Gessler, excuse me. Gensler.
Yeah, so me versus Gensler part one, where Gensler was chairman of the CFTC, allegedly was illegally using personal email to communicate with Corzine. Well, his agency was Corzine's primary regulator, where Corzine took 1.6 billion in customer segregated funds to meet a margin call on Corzine's own personal trading. So MF Global, 12 years ago now, was essentially the futures version of FTX, where another Gensler buddy, Stan Bankman-Fried, who had been given unbridled access to the SEC and the CFTC, also allegedly took customer funds, segregated customer funds, to support his own proprietary trading in Alameda Research, which Gensler has a pattern of having friends that like to raid customer segregated accounts, but apparently wants to go after meme coins like Let's Go, which are clearly not a security, but very critical of the Biden administration and their collusion with social media networks to censor free speech. You may have seen that the
FTC.
the FTC, there's pushback, student loan repayment, and the Biden administration just lost in court there. The administration has actually appealed a ruling against it, saying that it can't violate the First Amendment by colluding with social media networks to censor free speech, which was one of the main tenets our coin, was started off of. So, we've been highly critical of the administration. We've donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to support conservative nonprofits and political candidates, and the administration hates us. And guess what? We're not taking it lying down. I personally sued the SEC in federal court in Miami, and then just today we've seen the summary judgment holding come down in XRP Ripple, which further confirms the fact that Let's Go is not a security, never was a security. They have no jurisdiction to come in, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars of our money to comply with an unconstitutional security, and I will fight them all the way to the Supreme Court if necessary, to show that they do not have authority to torment the crypto industry as they've been doing without any congressional authority.
And could you, for laymen like myself, for knuckle draggers, could you explain the significance of that? You said XRP, anonymous buying securities versus cryptos. Could you explain that to the peasants like myself out in the field toiling and digging up turnips?
Well, I gotta say, Tommy is a lot smarter than he looks, and he's probably ascended a little bit above peasant status. But but yeah, I mean, the core tenet of securities law comes back to this case from 1946 called the Howey test, which was actually about orange groves, right? And even back then in 1946, the court understood that the orange groves weren't securities, they're assets, right? But if you form a business or a common enterprise to say, okay, well, we're going to manage these orange groves, we're going to share profits, from these orange groves, then that is, a business. And if you're paying money to have ownership in this common enterprise, then that is a security, right?
Okay.
That investment contract, right? But not the orange groves themselves. So Judge Torres and XRP and Ripple just came and affirmed that analysis that, if you're just selling an asset, on exchange, and there's no, promises for, the cash flows or, ownership in the business, these anonymous sales with no expectation on exchanges are not securities transactions.
Okay.
So in Ripple, they did say that sales to institutional buyers, where Ripple made all these presentations and explained how they could have a reasonable expectation of profit. He said those transactions are securities, but not the anonymous resale of the crypto asset on exchanges.
All right. So just looking at how is this important then? So just looking at the the link you showed me, LGB coin is a functionalist meme coin based on the Let's Go Brandon meme. Obviously critical of the government. They don't like it. We've seen with their trying to usurp.
They definitely don't like it.
Yeah, they definitely don't like it. Trying to usurp the First Amendment. I think yesterday or today, Elon Musk tweeted about the FTC and how the initials are EY. I don't know. Is it Ernst and Young? It's
EY is there's the young, yeah.
Okay, but not to go down a rabbit hole, but that there's, from whatever my understand, they're putting pressure on them to put pressure on Twitter. I don't know nearly enough about that to speak even remotely coherently on it, but I think it's pretty clear that this current administration is pressing down on the First Amendment through the Disinformation Governance Board, through the Trusted News Initiative, which I first heard about in July 2021. And as we've seen the Overton window shift of censorship, the first thing was 2020 election, then it was COVID's lab-made bioweapon, and then it's vaccine injury, and then we've started to actually see that shift now to, I think, in the last couple of days, they're shedding light on, and I don't know if this is confirmed or not, so I don't want to just be like a hysterical pearl clutcher, but censoring any topics on YouTube that the Ukraine war is a proxy war. Now, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of COVID, Ukraine. That's not the point of this. The point of this is the free flow of information and the ability for self-aware individuals with oxygen and blood flowing to their brains to observe reality and not need daddy government to tell them what's going on. Your ability to look at something and use your own pattern recognition, your own God-given intelligence to determine what's going on. That's the core. It's not whether or not COVID's this or that. It's not whether or not there are aliens on the moon. That's not the point. The point is the very ability to say this stuff. And I think that, if I'm not incorrect, that's kind of one of the core tenets of this, is simply mocking them as they're trying to bring down the hammer, dressed up as other stuff, dressed up as crypto regulation, finance this, XRP that, Ripple this. But that's what the core is, right? Is thou shall not question the state. Am I hitting the mark?
That is the core, yeah. So the First Amendment component is a part of it, and firsthand what censorship and deplatforming is like.
Yes,
you were deplatformed off of YouTube,
iTunes, Reddit, yeah.
Yeah, DC Drano, right? He's someone who's been very supportive of our movement. He was deplatformed, and it looks like the government of California colluded, with Twitter to deplatform him, and he's working on bringing his lawsuit to the Supreme Court, right? Like, this is a pervasive evil movement that's happened in this country to censor people, and now crypto really pisses off authoritarians, right? So like Madison Cawthorn says it best, is that the government has a monopoly on two things: violence and money, right? So that's why they try to take our guns, and they're trying to regulate by enforcement crypto out of existence, right? And you have this concept called fair notice, where Bill Hinman, who is a commissioner of the SEC, went and testified and said, look, Ethereum is sufficiently decentralized. It's no longer a security. Tokens on Ethereum are not securities, right? And LGB coin and Let's Go, its successor, are on Ethereum, right? The government has told us explicitly these are not securities, okay? Gensler himself testified before Congress in April 2021, saying that the SEC does not have authority to regulate crypto exchanges. Fast forward 2 years later, they've sued all the crypto exchanges. What law changes have you had? What statutes in crypto have been passed by Congress since then? None. And in fact, there's 2 draft bills, one in the House, one actually was announced today in the Senate, that do mean to provide crypto-specific legislation. So Congress has shown its intent to provide a legislative framework to regulate crypto and to have authority split between the SEC and the CFTC and discussions potentially for crypto self-regulatory authorities. Okay, so Congress has recognized that this law does not exist. This authority for the SEC to go and regulate crypto does not exist. Every other major country now has passed crypto legislation. The UK, the EU, Singapore, the Middle East, Malta, the state of Wyoming. They all have crypto-specific regulations. So if laws and regulations from the 40s were sufficient to regulate crypto, they wouldn't need these laws, right? So this is where the major question doctrine comes in. Coinbase has filed it. I have filed it, right? And it's that you can't have an agency say, we're going to take a 77-year-old court case about oranges and go and destroy a multi-trillion-dollar industry, because that's what they're trying to do, right? And then the kind of the next step is, what's their intent, right? I think their intent's a little nuanced. A lot of people have theorized that they want to suppress crypto pricing since traditional finance was so late to the game, and you saw $69,000 Bitcoin. They want to give them an opportunity to kind of catch up in Bitcoin, launch these Bitcoin ETFs, which, by the way, the SEC has rejected time and time again in the name of investor protection. But Bitcoin was trading right around $1,000 the first time that they rejected a Bitcoin spot ETF, right? So they've protected investors from making a 30,000% gain on Bitcoin in that time. And that's without the flows that come from a Bitcoin ETF. They've protected investors by making sure that there's a deep discount in the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which they have not permitted to become an ETF. But they've allowed a futures ETF, which doesn't give a claim on actual Bitcoin, just an index tied to Bitcoin. And they recently even approved a levered futures ETF. So they're saying it's safer for someone to take a leveraged position on a cash index tied to Bitcoin than to just have a pro rata ownership of Bitcoin itself that is maintained with someone, even like BlackRock, a multi-trillion-dollar financial institution, using Coinbase as a publicly traded custodian. That's not safe enough for investors, but they could trade levered futures on it. Like, give me a break, right? So, their investor protection arguments ring hollow. Okay, so they've caused price suppression in Bitcoin. They've caused hundreds of billions of dollars worth of damages to other cryptocurrency investors because of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt surrounding the regulatory status here. And then, the next step, right? You talked about authoritarianism and censorship, and how the government coming down on everybody plays in well in crypto. There's this concept called a central bank digital currency, which is not a blockchain. It's not decentralized, but in fact is a private blockchain controlled by the government, where they could put things like, if you buy a gun, your money's shut off, or we're going to put a massive tax on you if you buy a gun, right? If you criticize the government, we're going to take all your money, right? PayPal last year famously amended their terms of use to say, there's a private company, that if you post something on any social media that they consider misinformation, they will reach into your bank accounts, go beyond even your PayPal account, go into your bank account and take $2,500 per offense. Who made PayPal judge, jury, and executioner to go and rule you guilty of misinformation, i.e. disagreeing with the government, which is a First Amendment protected right, and taking money on your bank account? Well, guess what? If the government does that, and the government says, we have this currency, this digital currency where we have full control, and you say something you don't like, we're going to tax you in oblivion, freeze your bank accounts, etc. What's that all about, right? And we've seen it in China. You criticize the Chinese regime, your face is on a billboard, you have no social credit, right? We're going to take all your money, right? And if you debank someone, it's a powerful weapon. And we've seen debanking in Canada, okay, which when people donated to the Freedom Convoy trucker protests,
Mm-hmm.
protesting against COVID lockdowns, okay, those donations were seized by GoFundMe, donated to Black Lives Matter, and then the Canadian
Oh, I didn't know
government
that.
went, oh yeah, bro. And the Canadian government then debanked people. And this year we've seen what appears to be Operation Choke Point 2.0, where the
Mm-hmm.
government's going and debanking people who are legally transacting in crypto. So I've had 6 bank accounts closed across 4 different legal entities, okay, with no reasons given. So I'm preparing what's called a Rule 224 petition against those banks to get limited discovery to see why they were able to close my bank accounts. And the news has been coming out today saying that now Bank of America is supposedly closing out bank accounts of people who transacted with Coinbase, right? And importantly, in this country, we have a constitutional right to due process, okay, where if you're not convicted of a crime, okay, you can't be considered guilty, okay? And you're seeing this de facto imposition of criminal penalties taken against institutions and businesses for doing stuff that there's no law against, right? Like in the suit against Coinbase, the SEC has alleged that Algorand is an illegal security. Well, guess what? Gary Gensler's on video in 2019 saying how great Algorand is. Okay, and then this guy is now taking enforcement actions when there's been no law changes there. Like this is the very definition of violations of due process.
Hmm. Do you ever I know I do, and I'm always aiming to. Do you ever like exercise, diet?
Oh yeah, bro, every
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
a right wing extremist now,
Yeah,
according to
yeah.
the
Yeah, me
because
too.
I
Yeah.
lift weights, I play hockey, I box.
Yeah, no.
We're fascists.
I curl and I name members of the Nazi high command. I go Hitler, Goring, Goebbels, but that's not the point. The point is
Let's
this:
clarify, Tommy's not a Nazi,
I'm not a Nazi.
right?
That's a joke.
People
It's
just
because I'm a white guy in
accuse.
front of an American flag.
Yes.
Yeah, no. Trust me. It's the people that know I'm not a Nazi are watching. The people that think I'm a Nazi have blocked me, so it's all good. But no, I'm not. But the point is this: is one of the great lessons, and I've said before, and I'll always say it, that weightlifting and dieting is the single best teacher on the planet. It far surpasses anything you'll ever learn in school. It teaches you core tenets that are applicable. They're universal laws to everything: hard work, consistency, gains, disproportionate losses, etc. When you ever take your foot off the pedal, which is fine, you gotta live, you gotta go out to dinner, you gotta have fun, you gotta have some beer. That's all well and good. When you ever start to take your foot off the pedal and slip up, and I've lost enough weight, I've worked out enough, and you won't see it at first. You go eat, if I go eat, 10 tacos tonight, sure, my weight will go up because there's actual food in my colon, but if I take a before and after picture today and tomorrow, probably not going to look any different. I could probably eat Taco Bell every night for the next week. Probably still have the same vein on my bicep, right? But as you slip up and you don't see the changes right away, so what's the problem? Why do I need to keep eating eggs? Well, as the time goes on, and it will sneak up on you, and it's happened to me more times than I can count. I mean, truly more times than I can count. Is one day you wake up and you realize your pants don't fit as well, or that you look a little rounder instead of sharper. And to me, that is the importance of polishing and protecting the First Amendment. Is if you take your foot off the pedal, I was born in 1990. I didn't see any problem. Yeah, I grew up and I grew up in the peak of America. And what's wrong with that? Mark McGuire hitting shit out of the park, and I don't know, you got Backstreet Boys doing whatever, and MTV and Jackass, and it's all well and good. But as time goes on, you go, well, that will never happen here. But then very quickly, if you don't do something, it starts to creep in. And, I started the podcast in 2019 because I wanted to have fun. Very quickly, it turned into this like COVID rebellion show. But I saw that if you don't stand up, it very quickly, it's just COVID, dude. Stop questioning COVID. Very quickly, 2020 election, Ukraine, COVID origins, vax injuries. It very quickly starts to creep out of control. And next thing you know, you're looking in the mirror and you're going, I thought I had a jawbone. Why do I look so doughy? to me, that is the importance of all of this. So people that might be thinking, we're just being hysterical and anti-Biden, that we're no better than people with Trump derangement syndrome. Maybe you have a point. I don't know. But if you don't keep at it every day, if you don't constantly keep the blade sharp, it sneaks up on you. And what we're seeing right now, debanking, operation, a choke point 2.0, if you will, clamping down on any resistance. Sure, in a vacuum, it doesn't seem that bad. It's not good, but it doesn't seem, dude, you stop talking about COVID. You're fine. Stop. I've had people telling me, quote, dude, just play the game. If you want your podcast to grow, play the game. Okay. We've seen this over 3 years. What are we looking at in 2026? What about 2029? What about 2036? What about 2040? And then you look back over 20 years, you're looking in the mirror going, you ever see a picture of yourself from college and go, how did I gain so much weight? That's what it is. But the difference with gaining weight is you can go to the gym and start losing it. You cannot start to get this stuff back. The famous quote is right. You vote yourself into communism, you shoot yourself out. That's where it goes. So anyone that thinks that it's like, oh, you guys are freaking out over a meme coin. No, it's no different than you see a weird spot on your chest and you go to a dermatologist and get it removed. Because if you can get the spot removed now with some liquid nitrogen, or in 2 years, you've been going through bouts of chemo. So that's kind of, I don't know shit about finance, but this is sort of my take on all of this is kill it early, keep it going. It will sneak up on you. And it's not losing weight where if you see a problem, you go, oh, it's time to get on it. You can't get on it because the government will clamp down on you. That's kind of that's my soapbox campaign speech.
Well, listen, I agree completely. Right. And look, it's hard, man. It's hard to fight the government. Right. Like I'm a federal whistleblower.
Yeah.
It's not fun. Right. Like I was on the executive committee of the National Futures Association. Their president and general counsel committed fraud after they didn't follow the bylaws for the reelection of their compensation committee. So, rather than like go along to get along and stay on the executive committee and use those connections to enrich myself, I filed a federal whistleblower. And guess what? The CFCC didn't do anything about it, right? There's all this overlap of spouses between the NFA and the CFTC. The NFA has a guy whose title is literally permanent special advisor to the NFA board and executive committee, who would show up in meetings and vote. He's not elected, right? The guy's name's Leo Malamed. And guess what? He was the guy who signed off on Hillary Clinton's illegal futures trading with Tyson Foods, where they bought both sides or the losing side of orders, gave her the winners, which started the entire, Clinton political run, right? Jeez. Like those are the people I've fought. And I have 2 corroborating witnesses on the executive committee, one of which was extorted by the NFA for supporting me. And the government has refused to call my corroborating witnesses. They have spent 40 months auditing my firm in 15 years. Okay. 5-month audits, hours a day of my staff time to comply with this. And we're a very relatively small firm. And the biggest thing they could get in the last audit was that my sister didn't take ethics training while on maternity leave. So we should terminate her license. And that we had a graph that hadn't been updated for a while on our website, even though it was like dated properly. Okay. And this is who they're spending months and months auditing, someone who's helped recover $7 billion pro bono for fraud victims. But when I was on the executive committee, I tried to pass a resolution that, and this is when all the deferred prosecution settlements were being done with banks for felonies and money laundering for billions of dollars. But if an affiliate of the NFA entity pleads guilty to a felony, that should trigger an audit of them. That got voted down 7-2. Okay. So JP Morgan could commit a felony, but they don't get audited. But my little sister doesn't take ethics training while on maternity leave. That's a 5-month audit. Okay. That's what fighting the regulators are like. And you look at XRP, which won today in summary judgment, or mostly won today. Brad Garlinghouse has spent $200 million for like 6 years, okay, fighting the government. Like most people don't have $200 million lying around. I don't have $200 million lying around, right? Okay, but you know what? I am an attorney. I've beaten Gensler before. And I sued the SEC because what they're trying to do to me and what they're trying to do in my Let's Go community isn't right. And Let's Go started like a joke, just like your podcast,
Mm-hmm.
right? But people got behind it because they know that I am an advocate and I will not stop. They will have to kill me, literally, to get me to stop advocating against their unconstitutional overreach. And I have filed suit and I'm going to win. And if I don't win in district court, I'm going to win in appellate court. If I don't win in appellate court, it's going to Supreme Court. And guess what? This Supreme Court keeps voting 9-0 against unconstitutional overreach by the administrative state. Okay, so come on, Gensler, let's go, bro.
Let's go. But no, and this is, and again, and I've said this before, and people kind of roll their eyes. Where I'm like, if you want to shut me down, because you very quickly you flow chart it out and you go, okay, so it comes to this then. If you're going to stop me, it's because you're going to kill me, and that's what it is. And oh, that's an exaggeration, man. All it takes is a weekend of cursory examinations of governments in the 20th century to understand where this goes. It's I just I don't know, about a month ago I had a mole on my leg come out of nowhere, looked really freakish, got it zapped. All right. It's because you know where it goes. I know where it goes, man. It's gonna turn into something bad. It's not fun. It's not like you and I are like, yo, we're fighting the government and we're making money
Yeah,
off of
it's
it.
not
No,
fun.
it's not fun, man.
Not
It's
fun.
not fun. I've had legal problems from this podcast. I've had legal problems from this podcast with the federal government in person. I'm not going to go into details in that because I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to. But no, very real in terms of individuals working for the government showing up to my fucking house. All right. I'm smart enough to get a lawyer. So that's the point. Is it's not fun. There's no reward. There's no glory. It's, if anything, it is at the bare minimum, it's not fun. At the absolute most common, it is detrimental to you financially. It's been detrimental to my podcast. It's not fun. But you can't bury your head in the sand. It's not like you're 5 years old and your parents are telling you it's important to stick up for free speech. And you're like, yeah. And then you go, eat an ice pop. You have to understand where this goes, and it goes there very quickly. And if you can't bring yourself to stand up for it, how can you expect anyone else to stand up for it? If I can't bring myself to see a can on the side of the road, you pick it up, throw it in the trash can. Well, then how can I expect anyone else to clean up after themselves? But the thing is there is power in numbers, and when courage is contagious. When you start, and it's not like you and I are trying to press our beliefs onto people and our doctrines. I don't care what you do, and people can pick up on that. They can tell when you're trying to preach, and they can tell when you're saying, hey man, I'm not trying to push anything on anyone. I just think we should all be free to do X, Y, and Z. People can pick up on that. People are, some are stupid. People can pick up on sincerity, and they know when you're doing something that's truly for the best of all of us. And if you're okay with, I always pose this question: if you're okay with Biden doing this, are you okay with Trump doing this? And or vice versa, Trump bans bump stocks? Well, it's a good thing after the Vegas shooting. Are you okay with Biden doing it? Well, no, that's an overreach. Well, then you're being a hypocrite. And so there is an importance to shed light on this, and because there's a reason why they do these things in the dark. There's a reason why they try to get you to sign stuff. You shouldn't really talk about this. They know what they're doing is wrong. It's no different than a creepy dude, messaging a girl. Like they know why they're doing it quietly and from the shadows, because they know it's wrong. So what you can do is you can shine light on it, and it's really that simple. It comes down to don't criticize the state, and you got to plant your feet
on these
unconstitutional
subpoenas, right?
Yeah,
they keep them secret, right? If you play
yes.
ball,
Yes.
They want all of my bank statements, all my credit cards, 10,000 documents, throw people under the bus, right? Play ball and no one will know about it. We keep it secret, right? Like I run an asset management business. You know how hard it is? And I'm regulated by the SEC. I'm regulated by the NFA. I'm regulated by the CFTC. So to go public and sue them, you know how hard it is on my business, right? Like who wants to go invest with something, because there's this presumption that I did something wrong.
Some troublemaker, some shit stirrer.
And they do that on purpose because, if I challenge them, then I'm guilty until proven innocent. But if I play ball, then maybe no one hears about it. Maybe they forget about it.
Dude.
Yeah.
And
But that's not how I roll. That's not how I roll, and I don't give up my rights out of convenience. Okay. And I'm standing up for this entire crypto community who has been abused, who's been cost hundreds of billions of dollars because of their unconstitutional overreach. And like, we're not going to take it anymore.
And again, the important thing to remember with all of this is, yeah, I totally get the I totally get the viewpoint or the opinion that someone might have watching this. Man, like, you guys need something else to do. You're getting your panties up in a bundle. Okay, yeah, sure. You have to understand that there is no it is an immutable trajectory. This will happen. It's that this if you don't go to the gym today, you have to go to it's one of my favorite motivational things, and it's a picture of a guy and it's divided down the middle. And one half of him is just jacked, ripped, looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the other guy looks like the Michelin Man. And it says, "Suffer the pain of discipline or suffer the pain of regret." But
Mm-hmm.
there's no world in which you're not suffering, man. You're either suffering
Oh
because you're
yeah.
hungry and you want to eat eggs, or you're suffering because you just ate a Big Mac and going, shit, why did I do that? There is no world where you're not suffering. So that's, again, this is how I look at all of it, man. You stand up now, you take a detriment,
Yeah.
and hey Tommy, James, just talk about this, man. Your business will be fine. We're just keeping it between you and me. That's an enticing,
Mm-hmm.
alluring, demonic little deal you make with the devil. Just shut up, dude. Your business is fine. If you're not willing to stand now, well, what about the next one when the threat's a little worse? I'm just,
Well,
it
the
just,
next one, they debank you, which, by the
yeah,
way, they already did. Right
yeah,
as I filed my $1.4 billion lawsuit on behalf of all LGB coins against NASCAR, who illegally revoked our sponsorship
yep,
approval that they approved in writing. They revoke it after it gets $200 million views or 200 million views, right? And then the next day, so they revoke us citing political guidelines, and then the very next day announce a sponsorship with the Charlotte LGBT Chamber of Commerce, and then this year ran a pride car. So politics are apparently okay for NASCAR as long as they're the politics that aren't believed in by the majority of its fan base, which is very conservative, right? So as long as you go woke, you're fine. You can have your NASCAR thing. But with us, they don't want to just reject us. They want to approve us, have everybody hear about it, suck in buyers who reasonably relied on their in writing sponsorship approval and see if they could cost them hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, they maliciously tried to hurt our community and have hurt our community. So, right as I file suit against them, guess what? All my bank accounts are shut off. Okay. And if I don't sue the SEC now, then guess what the next step is? They implement a central bank digital currency. I can't sue the SEC. I can't pay the $40 filing fee because all of my money is shut off for going against them. And it's not right. It's un-American. It's not going to happen on my watch.
again, it's the trajectory. It is a trajectory that is not stopping. It's you
It's
do it
not. It's
now.
not stopping unless we stop it.
Well, correct, and that's the point. And it is what is it? It's I never read it. I probably should. Dante's Inferno, but I have a guy in here that always quotes a line from it, and it's as you're climbing out of hell, you're basically climbing a mountain, but with every step you take, the grade, the steepness of it gets lesser. So every step you take is easier than the last. That's it's the inverse of that. It's the whatever we see as difficult now will be 10 times as difficult next year. And it's you gotta, I mean, there I always say this, man, you gotta respect your enemy. They may be evil, but they're not stupid. They play a very good
Mm-hmm.
game. They know what they're doing. All right. You don't have to like them. They're all evil. I get it. They ain't stupid. They're not some dumb caveman. They are tactical, they're cunning, they'll stab you in the back, and they understand the game theory of it. And they know, well, shut it off now. And like you just said, let's say it gets worse. All right, I'm suing the SEC. Well, no, now you can't. Now we've cut off your money. They know what they're doing. It's a war. It is no different than a war. It is a war.
Oh,
They
yeah.
they're
It is a
cutting you
war.
off at every possible thing, and they're doing it because that is what is the best mode for them right now. The ultimate mode, and it's always that mode, is when they get far enough along that there is no recourse, there is no free speech, and then the mask falls off, and then you don't need to censor anyone. You just roll in the tanks,
Mm-hmm.
and that is
Oh,
where it
yeah.
goes. And then we all look around in the gulag going, how did it happen again? This is how it happens. And you don't have to like it, man. You guys are just exaggerating. I hope we are. I hope we are. But every provable,
Unfortunately, we're not.
we're not. Every pattern in human history says this is where it's going. And you can stand
Censor
now.
people, take their guns.
Yes. This is the
take their
history
money.
of man. And
How do you fight them?
yeah, you can't. And that's what it is, man. And it's, you know, it's not fun. There's nothing cool about it, but you have to do
No,
it.
but I will say you made one great comment
Sure.
about how it's not accidental, it's all tactical, right? So I constantly correct people when they talk about like the insanity of the left,
They're not
right? Like,
insane.
mutilating kids or, like voting against bills that in California making pedophilia trafficking a felony. Like, how is that not already a felony, right? But
Yeah.
the Afghanistan withdrawal, right, leaving 85 billion in weapons for the Taliban, like how incompetent, how insane. No, those are deliberate actions to weaken the United States
Yes.
and weaken Western civilization. Because if the US falls, the rest of the Western world falls. And then the globalist designs that are espoused by the World Economic Forum, where we will own nothing and be happy and eat bugs in the name of climate change while they fly on their private jets and rule us, that is the goal.
Yes.
Okay. So everything they're doing is towards that goal. It is calculated and it is evil, but it is not insane.
I got to go to a fundraiser like a year and a half ago for Anthony Sabatini out of Florida. And it was so great. There was just no, we're all eating dinner and then it's like it's his turn to talk. And he was like, listen, y'all, I'm just gonna get right to it. He was like, there's a group of globals who want 10,000 years of human slavery. That's the end goal. He's like, you may be rolling your eyes and it starts now with legislation, but that's why you need to vote. And it was just, he went on this great speech, and I wish I had it, but he just goes down this whole thing of basically saying, like, this is what it is. They want a homogenous, blended. They don't want race. They don't want culture. They don't want borders. They want you all to be the same group of amorphous slobs. And again, it's looking at the mole
Well,
on your.
getting back to exercise, right? They
Yeah.
want us weak. Like, look
Yes.
at the U.S. food system,
Yes.
right? And like how obesity has proliferated in the last 30 years, right? Like, they're trying to poison us and keep us malnourished, keep us weak, keep us from exercising, branding exercise as like far right extremists and white
Yeah.
supremacy. Like, give me a break. They want people that they could conquer and rule, and that's why so many of them are pedophiles, because
Yes.
they want, all they want is power over people and destroying the innocence of children, and it is unbridled evil.
And now we're getting to the meta theme of what you really see this all is. Is it? I mean, it's almost poetic. You do see it is dominion, no pun intended, with voting machines. It is dominion over others, or it is free will. What is the real value of free will? There's no God doesn't get anything out of making 6 billion marionettes that just say I love you because he's pulling the strings. That's no different than me getting on my Mac and saying I love you, Tommy, and then playing it back and it going I love you, Tommy. Okay, cool, whatever, cool flex, man. No, real power, the real juice of this very existence is when people love you and there's no threat. It's not because you're paying them. It's not because you're writing their checks. It's not because you have a gun to them. It's when someone just goes, yeah, no, Tommy's my buddy, man. Yeah, I love. Yeah, I don't give a shit, dude. You're my homie, right? Your dog runs to you not because you yelled it. Hey, there we go. Perfect intro.
Winston agrees.
Yeah, I know, right? Your dog runs to you because it loves you, not because you're holding the gun to its head. And we're getting into this like very spiritual meta theme, but that's is what it is. It's dominion over you. It's getting off on power over you, power over the helpless, breaking you down, making you serve them, which not to go full like preacher, but I mean, is evil, is satanic versus free will versus James and I aren't saying we got to censor the left instead of censoring the right. No, we're saying hey, be free to think what you want, man. Be free to think what you want. You don't have to like conservatives. That's fine. That use your
You
own
never see
brain.
conservatives shrieking or trying to control people or,
No, say whatever you
force our
want.
values on people or refusing debates, right? That all comes from the authoritarianism.
There is Elon took over Twitter. Now it's a right wing. No. Now it is free for people to talk. If it leans right, then that's just what the majority of the population is now. And it was like a pendulum, it'll swing the other way. But it's not that you need to create a new place where you censor it. No, there's no censoring whatsoever. Let it all fly. Go for it.
Yeah, and we have an administration that has literally filed an appeal
Yes.
to be able to continue to actively censor people and deprive them of their First Amendment rights. That is what our administration did this week. What else do you need to know?
And I think, and I know I've made this mistake before where you think that, oh, this is happening because people don't know enough about it. So you talk about it. Well, then after a couple years and 1,200 episodes, you go, well, I've put it out there. People know. And then you go, oh, the people that I'm telling, they know and they don't care because their guy's doing it. And then you go,
Mhm.
oh, well, what's the next step? Well, now the next step is we have to start actively fighting it. And that's what you have to do, man, is they know exactly. No one's blind to. I'm sure there are some people with their head under a rock, but yeah, people that, they see the Biden administration doing it and they go, good. The government should step in. And you
Mhm.
go, oh, it's not that they don't know it's happening. They know it's happening. They're okay with it. So as Terrence
Okay,
McKenna
because their
says,
side, right? If
yes.
you're censoring your enemies, it's okay.
And that's, man, it doesn't go anywhere good. And you and I can sit here and go, and it's not right. And we can bask in the glory of our virtue signaling to one another. And I'm on Rumble, so it's mostly conservatives watching this. Sure, we can all pat ourselves on the back and go, we're the right guys. Yeah, great attitude. We'll all do that in boxcars on the way to the death camp in 30 years. That's not how it goes. You have to start taking active steps. And that is to bring it all back in, from up high on the globalist pedophiles wanting to harm people, unbridled evil, as you said, back down to just a let's go coin. That's where it goes, man. That's the trajectory.
Mm-hmm. But I will say that stuff like this is important, right? Because it gets awareness out. Because not
Sure.
everybody, realizes what's going on. And it's
Sure.
actually one of the reasons I really love RFK Jr., right? Like
Yes.
this guy had his dad killed by the government, his uncles killed by the government, okay, and still has the balls to go out there and red pill everybody and talk about how bad these COVID jabs are, how
Mm-hmm.
bad the mandates are, fight against censorship, fight for smart crypto regulation and fostering this multi-trillion-dollar industry in the
Mm-hmm.
US instead of pushing that offshore. Right. So, I give him a lot of credit for helping our cause. And I think Kennedy Democrats are a lot closer to modern day conservatives than
Absolutely.
the evil that we see on the left.
My grandparents, rest their souls, were probably, I never met my dad's parents, but my mom's parents were I mean, almost comically conservative, like out of like a sitcom, just conservative Catholic, like suburban New Jersey, nuclear family, whatever. They both voted for JFK. The only
Mm-hmm.
time I'm sure in the history of my family. And that is, I think, the importance of, this is actually a beautiful microcosm. I'm glad you brought that up. RFK is the perfect example. If there's anyone who, by this logic, would just put their head down, I ain't getting involved. His uncle's head was blown off in Dallas. His dad was shot in the head. His cousin was arguably killed. Some say not. Whatever. I think the pattern would say he was. He's going out and going, no, this can't stand. Well, what's the critique of that? Well, he's going to get himself killed. No, he understands that if he does this, he might get himself killed. If he doesn't do anything, we all get killed, including him, which is the trajectory of where this goes. That's not hyperbole. That is communism. We all get killed. Okay.
We get killed or we have horrible lives, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
you'll wish for death. So it's either he speaks out and gets killed, or he does nothing and he gets killed and everyone he knows gets killed. There's no point where the threat of death isn't there from the existing hegemony. That's what you have to understand, is that we are all just one step away from RFK. No, my uncle
mm-hmm.
wasn't a president. My dad wasn't a senator. But you're one step away. What do you think they're going to do once they get rid of him? They think they're just
Oh
finished
yeah.
killing? No, then
And look,
they come to
I'm no
you.
Kennedy, but they've weaponized the federal government against me.
Yes,
Okay, I've been getting harassed, for 2 years. Frivolous lawsuit against someone said that I was bringing the conservative movement into the 21st century. Some evil plaintiff's lawyer got a hold of him. It's cost people on our project over $1 million in fees, right? Stress, aggravation, for 14 months. SEC subpoenas, harassments by other regulators. Bank accounts and credit cards closed, over a meme coin based on my Halloween costume
Yeah.
that was used and is still being used to advocate, against this regime. Okay. And guess what? We're not stopping. We're holding NASCAR accountable, okay, in state court down here in Florida, and I will fight the SEC as long as there is air in my lungs.
And that's a good point. Yeah, you're higher up on the totem pole than I am. You've already brushed up with the Obama administration and Goldman Sachs. I'm way below you.
Yeah, I beat them. I'll beat
Yeah,
this administrator too.
yeah.
So,
But this is my point. Is you're up on the totem. They'll take you down eventually, far down. I have
they'll
a
try.
podcast. I'll
They'll
be taken
stress me
down.
out. They'll
Yeah,
cost me money, right? But at the end of the day, as bad as things have got in this country, like there are still ethical people in the legal system. You saw Judge Torres today, come out, an XRP, very well reasoned, holding. And we're gonna, the Supreme Court again, it keeps holding this administrative state accountable. So is it fun? Right? Is it fun to go through, years of this and, stress and aggravation and expense? No, but you know what? Like you said, if no one does it, we're in communism. So
and
do what you got to do.
that's where it goes, man. And they'll get rid of RFK, then they'll get rid of you, they'll get rid of Rogan, they'll get rid of media heads. Way down the line, they'll get rid of me, and then after me, they'll get rid of the rest of y'all. Look, man, look what they did to Donald Trump, a sitting president and a billionaire. Look what they're trying to do to
Mm-hmm.
RFK. They're seeing them try to do it right now. They tried to do to Rogan. Rogan's got a platform and some money so he can fight back. Look what they're doing to these people. What do you think they're going to do to you, Bob Citizen, watching this? If you see Mike Tyson take on another animal in the ring, what do you think he's going to do to you? And
Mm-hmm.
I suppose that's my closing thoughts on this. What can people do to actually, as some sort of, I guess, call to action, so people don't just watch this, get riled up, and then that's it? Is there anything they can actually do to help you? Is there anything they can actually do to kind of bring light to? I mean, obviously share the podcast. Is there? I mean, what can people do that want to do something?
Yeah, I think the formula that worked for us at MF Global, where we had three volunteers, like my little sister being a paralegal to do
Yeah,
filings, and we beat the biggest bank in the world, the trustee from Lehman Brothers, Clinton's FBI director, Obama's attorney general, with a handful of volunteers. It's a combination of advocacy. Okay, so making your voices heard, on podcasts like yours is hugely important. Getting the word out, letting people know what's going on. A lot of people don't know what's going on, right? For me as an attorney, I could get in there, and hold my own in court. Like that's a great thing about the legal system. Like even with me, and I've got some law professors and crypto lawyers like volunteering, helping me. I've got some, local counsel that's great, but I'm still a small ragtag guerrilla band going against the force of the U.S. government, right? So, some of the crypto CEOs have asked me to set up what's called a donor advised fund to help, fund all the litigation and getting me some support counsel. So I could give you a link to that to post. I really
yeah.
would rather not take donations, from individuals, but if you have friends who run crypto projects or exchanges who are vested in this outcome, a little bit of support there, does help. But the ultimate FU, I think, is a comeback, for Let's Go, and people who buy Let's Go not for an expectation of profit, but to say, the SEC, you're not going to silence our voices, you're not going to destroy, our project, and we're going to have the resources to continue to fight, the real wrongdoer in our case, which is NASCAR. I think that's a great message to them. So, and even if you don't want to, come officially, become a Let's Go holder, join the Let's Go Telegram, retweet us on social media. Awareness is huge, because we are in this for the right reasons, and we are, gonna continue this fight. And I'm really truly grateful for the loyalty of our community. They've been through a lot, for something again that started through a joke. To have NASCAR illegally revoke the sponsorship approval, to have a group of people actually go the steps of violating their contracts with, Let's Go, to do a hostile takeover of the coin because they thought NASCAR would approve that, right? It's been a roller coaster ride, but my entire life is consumed by this project, and I'm going to make sure that when the SEC is defeated, that our community is going to be a big reason why.
Beautifully said. It's always a pleasure to have you on, man. It's an honor to know
Thank
you.
you, bud.
And I'll text you the live. I'll text you the link to the show. I already did, I guess. And yeah, man, I look forward to the next one.
You're the man, Tommy. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. You too, guys. Thank you.